Thank you very much for staying with us. And the conversation this morning is about security. We can't just talk about it enough. Actually, we can overemphasize the importance of having a secured community, secured towns, nations, and states, and then a nation. In this case, Nigeria. Just like we usually reiterate here, security is a global phenomenon, actually, or insecurity rather. So you rather pick your battle carefully. But when it looks like there are parts of the nation that they can't even sleep properly, not even sleep at all, just because some non-state actors are holding them to ransom. And the worst part is the fact that there are subtle, it seems that there is subtle, denouncing, of the reality in which we are right now. In fact, in Kwara State, they have been in the news for the wrong reasons in the past few days. Few weeks actually, some months now. And we spoke to someone from one of those local government that have been attacked. And he said there is a systemic suppression of the news coming from those local government, Lafiagi local government or Patigi or Ifelodun local government, where these bandits are wreaking havoc and running riot. That is just the case, and this is where it is. And by the way, some generals in Nigeria, retired generals rather, have laid their voice to what is happening, where they talked about the terrorism and they are backing calls for state of emergency in Nigeria. The call was made by a former Chief of Defense Staff, General Loki Rabo, retired, for the declaration of a state of emergency to effectively address the Boko Haram insurgency. And, he wrote a book and he says, Scars, Nigeria's Journey and the Boko Haram Conundrum. He argued, as General Rabo, that the absence of political will had hindered Nigeria's response to the insurgency, stressing that an emergency proclamation backed by the National Assembly would mobilize all elements of national power towards ending the war. And he added by saying, it should be noted that strategy deals with the aggregate of the elements of national power. These include economic, political, social, diplomatic, information, and military. The political authority stands at the apex. The success of the tactical and operational levels will never translate to victory if there is failure at the strategic level. Tactical operations alone rarely bring about the desired outcome in political situations. You could see the repetition. Less than 1 minute of me reading a part of that book. He has mentioned politics or political inclinations more than 3 times. And this is from somebody who was a former Chief of Defense Staff, the #1 security person as far as military architecture is concerned, defense architecture is concerned at a time in Nigeria, talking about the political angle to it. But then it's obvious for all to see. We are being joined by security expert and analyst, Mr. Deyemi Saka joins us virtually. It's good to see you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. It's nice to be here. Nice to be here, Daniel. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, and of course, Dr. Chuks Maha is here with us virtually as well. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, good morning all. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Let's start with you, Mr. Deyemi Saka. You just heard what those are just few lines from a book he wrote, that's General Rabo, where he called it Scars, Nigeria's Journey and the Boko Haram Conundrum. And those are just few excerpts, not even up to a page. And where he repeatedly talk about strategic overview, but then the political dynamics to this, to say operations and all of those things alone really wins war. Strategy wins the war, and he talked about politics. But now, what you are seeing in Kwara State, you heard me say, we've spoken to 2 persons from Kwara State last week, and in fact, 2 of them, we spoke to them differently, and from the same, they are from some of those places being, attacked. And one of them even said there is an agency of the state in a particular WhatsApp group that they used to drop security information that told them, please don't let this get out. Delete these pictures. And that's a systematic, suppression of the news coming from Kwara State. And in fact, I must add, The Accra State has said, released a statement to say, yes, we have issues, but no part of our land is being overrun by bandits. That's the reality of Kwara State. Now, Mr. Saka, what do you say to this position of General Irabo?
Well, I am not here to question, and I can never question the credentials of General Irabo. Yes, he's been a CDS and a senior military officer and what have you. But oftentimes we overplay words, we play too much with words. I don't know what you're waiting for. Yes, I know your commander-in-chief is the head of any military operations and what have you in any climb. Whether you like it or not, it might not be on the field, but you defer to him at all times. But after drafting what is called concept of operations, CONOPS, I don't think you need any political will again, even if the politician or the political leader is not buying into the successes or the approach of the war. Once you've drafted, once he has approved, and once you've initiated and you have boots on ground and what have you, and all the components of the concept of war, or that concept of that operation has been activated, it's only when it is withdrawn, revised, or probably abandoned that you can start talking about political will. And since the concept of operation is drawn to give you a successful, or to be successful at the end of the day, to report success, I don't think you need to defer because the mistake the difference between the Nigerian military based on what is said and the US military as what is obtainable with the Trump presidency is they will tell you that we sought to uphold the Constitution and to execute and carry out valid constitutional orders by Mr. President. That is what's obtainable in America. In Nigeria, they're more of a politician than sector commanders, than GOCs and service chiefs. And it's not good for our democracy. Secondly, I think most of them tends to now be to obtain or aspire sainthood when they leave office or they leave, they pull out of service. Because you can't say this while you're there, but Nigerians will support you if you're doing the right thing. I don't see, this argument of political will is it's not patriotic. You cannot speak, but
Mr. Saka, the commander. Yeah, Mr. Saka, when he talked about the political dynamics to operations and all of those things, do you think he was talking about politicians as individual or the state and the people that control it? I want us to distinguish that. Do you think he was talking about maybe individuals and saying, somebody from this state, somebody at the federal? No. Or he's talking about politicians and what they do, being the ones at the end of the state?
The question is this: when a politician at that state level, the subnational, is obstructive to you making progress, whether you like it or not, that person is liable to have committed treason.
How about the national? How about the national, not just subnational?
I'm coming. And for me, unless you're telling me the only person that can be that involved or that can be that compromising and obstructive that might be very difficult to touch is the commander-in-chief. But if you people are patriotic and not in bed and profiting from the whole thing, there are ways, there are channels and back channels to push the complicity of the commander-in-chief out, that the National Assembly, no matter how cumbersome the process is, will be forced to impeach him. And that's the truth.
All right.
I'll call it a quick one. I see the subnational levels, there is no place for them in the command, control, and communication structure of the military or the paramilitary. So at that subnational level, it's no excuse. And if you have enough information indicting a governor, one senator, and what have you, bring it to public. Let the courts, because that's the truth. But you see, Nigeria is a country that we draw so much on political considerations, and we consider politics in everything we want to do, at the expense of the success, the genuinity, the sincerity of purpose, and the essence of those projects or policies. That's why we are here.
All right, Mr. Saka.
I can't imagine how you want, before you can carry out a military operation, you have to go inform the, especially air raids, you have to inform the traditional head or district head, and that by in turn tells his people to not to go to. But you are already compromising intel. Well, if an instance is the Kaduna incident, that an identified terrorist hideout turned over within an hour became a religious gathering. Location for religious gathering.
Mr. Saka, please hold that thought. We'll come back to you on that because of time. Let me quickly go to Dr. Maha. Dr. Maha, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm very much with you, Femi.
All right. Dr. Maha, I want us to understand General Irabo's point of view. In his book, here's what he said. He said, tactical and operational success will never translate to victory against terrorism and insurgency if there is failure at the strategic level. And according to him, he said the political authority in Nigeria is at the apex as far as that strategic level is concerned. That is how he tried to bring in the involvement of politicians. He said no matter what the military does at the tactical and operational levels, it will never translate to victories if there are problems at the strategic levels being handled by the politicians. How can we reconcile this? You are a security expert, Dr. Maha. What do you think we can do to harmonize these operations to make sure that if the military guys are doing their best as far as tactical and operational levels are concerned, then how can we succeed at the other level, of course, which is a strategic level now being handled by politicians, especially the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, who is a civilian?
Well, what he said in his book, if it's taken literally, is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. However, why did this not come up while he was in service is the issue. And it can only be identified to one thing: job security, fear of losing one's job. The moment we all become patriotic, like what Deyemi was saying just about there when you killed it off, the moment every Nigerian becomes patriotic, it doesn't matter. We must be ready to make that sacrifice. Whether I lose my job, whether I lose my life, I am doing it for Nigeria and not for anybody. I think there will be a turnaround. Yes, he's correct. And we need to know, and I pray through whoever means or whatever means, it gets to the hand and the reasoning of the commander-in-chief, who happens to be Mr. President. Mr. President, in the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Senator, is the most powerful president anywhere in the world, and he's the president of Nigeria. Everything remains and ends with him. He's the only one that can give the directive to the military to carry out any of the orders. Yes, the military all have done their paperwork, they are ready, but they cannot do anything without the order coming from above. The above, we mean the president or from the presidency. Now, I want to say here, information, intel is very, very key for the success of this kind of insecurity. We must curb it. It's more like a guerrilla warfare. They know you, but you do not know them. Yes, we've been able to identify their heads and sometimes their hideouts. We need a collaborative effort to win this war if this thing is going to go in and succeed. The telecoms will all be involved because we need communication to nip down the exact coordinates of where they are. The Air Force must be briefed and be told to do a thorough job. The military on ground, the police, immigration, everybody, including you and I. And that comes and stems down to trust. We need to emphasize trust. Trust between the people and governors and governments.
All right.
When I'm talking of government, I'm talking about the government legislative arms, the executive arms, and those other security agencies and apparatus who we can trust with information.
Dr. Maha, If you say the military cannot really do anything unless they get the order, of course, from the commander-in-chief, which is quite understandable. But how do we explain this, Dr. Maha? Just last week, for instance, in the border town of Kirawa in Borno State, terrorists invaded, and the civilians there, the residents, about 5,000 of them, we understand, had to flee to Cameroon. And again, a military base was attacked. Here's my question, Dr. Maha. If they have to wait for the commander-in-chief to give them orders, what if they are under attack? Is there no rule in the military that says you should neutralize any offense, any threat, exactly? In the military, I believe there should be a code that you should neutralize a threat first. Now, what happens when military bases are being attacked and overrun by Boko Haram? We still had that last week. Dr. Maha, what exactly are we missing here? If they need to get clearance to attack the hideouts of terrorists, what if the military guys themselves are under attack? Can't they neutralize those threats? Or why else? How can we explain the fact that military bases are being overrun by terrorists? Should they also have to wait for order to neutralize those threats?
The answer still comes yes, whether we like it or not. It may seem unbearable to accept a bitter pill, but the answer is yes. They are called what we call rules of engagement, ROE. Now, rules of engagement come two ways. During the military dispensation, it's different from rules of engagement during a civilian dispensation. The truth of the matter, at the end of the day, when this is done, the truth is the very people whom you're trying to protect will come back again and say, no, what you did was killing innocent citizens. And that's why you need a command structure. Like he said, Deyemi Saka spoke about it, control and command structure. And it comes from the top. You cannot come from the sub-level. It comes from the
Dr.
top.
Maha,
it's unfortunate.
Dr. Maha, so sorry. Please hold that thought. We need to go on a quick break. When we return, you continue from there. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. This morning we are talking about insecurity in Nigeria and calls from ex-generals, calling for a state of emergency to be declared in Nigeria. And we have with us security expert and analyst, Mr. Deyemi Saka, and of course, Dr. Chuks Maha. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying with us.
You're welcome.
All right, Dr. Maha, let me come back to you. Just before we went on that break, I was asking a germane question. First, before I ask that question, you raised the fact that why is General Lucky Rabo raising this point now? Why didn't he raise it when he was in office? Which brings us to the question of blind patriotism, like some people might say. And you said perhaps he was just trying to protect his job. However, he has raised the point now, and a couple of other ex-generals are actually in support of this call for a state of emergency in Nigeria as far as security is concerned. However, they also claim that just calling for a state of emergency would not be enough, that they should deal with the root causes, of these insecurity challenges we are having. Before we went on that break, Dr. Maha, you were talking about trying to address the question I raised, talking about the military being attacked, military bases being attacked. I raised the case of Kirawa, a border town in Borno State, that was attacked by terrorists, Boko Haram terrorists, and about 5,000 Nigerians fled to Cameroon. Allegedly, it was reported about 5,000 Nigerians had to flee to a neighboring country, to Cameroon. And my question is this: when these terrorists attack military bases, why do they still have to blame it on the politicians for not defending themselves? I recall that I raised the fact that General Rabo made it clear that the military are doing so well as far as tactical and operational levels are concerned, but as far as strategic levels are concerned, the strategic level has to do with the politicians. My question again, Dr. Maha, is if a military base is under attack, why should they wait for directive from politicians to defend themselves?
Now, first and foremost, it will take somebody who is either the military or paramilitary to understand this technically and practically. Now, when you're being led by a civilian who doesn't understand your modus operandi and the way and manner you carry out your duties, he or she will not fully understand the nature of your job. Most times, civilians look at military personnel as robots, people who are there, but they don't really recognize they are there. They don't look at them as pure human beings, but people who are there who sacrifice their lives for the nation, as it may seem. But it's neither there or there. But we need to address the issue, like you said, the root cause. The root cause. And what is it? The security of politics versus the politics of security. Most politicians, I didn't say all of them, most politicians of today will do anything to remain in office, irrespective of any consequence that might arise. And that's what we're talking about, the security of politics. Now, in order to do that, they need to play politics with the various security agencies, making sure they're able to achieve what they actually need to do. That could be at the subnational level or at the national level. But we need to note here and remind ourselves that the bane of every government anywhere in the world is the provision of security for its people. First and foremost, physical security before other security issues come up, whether it's food, educational, job, or anything. It all falls under security. Now, we need to know, we talk about the bandits. When you talk about bandits, insurgents, or terrorists, I don't care what name you choose to call them, well, as long as they have some foreign infiltrations into them, foreign, I mean non-Nigerians, it means the entire security structure must be put into place, whether it's paramilitary or military. The lead agency, the police, within the country, if it's localized, the moment there is a foreigner amongst them, the police pull back and the military moves in. Now, we have the NIA, the DIA. None of these two agencies have said anything concerning insecurity or insurgency within the country, which is their main base of purpose of why they are created. The free flow of arms, the free flow of human beings coming to the country, we don't hear anything about it. The DSS is there, all there to also help out information gathering for filtration and all that. But the truth of the matter, I mentioned earlier in the program, is issue of the trust level. All these security agencies cannot work without information. They need information. Are the people, Nigerians, ready to divulge information? Yes or no? If yes, at what expense? The expense of their lives or what? Because it's the handling of this information that is key. And that is the key word here.
All right.
So coming back, let me just end up this way. The truth of the matter here is that the military, paramilitary, security agencies can do this. If the president gives them 1 week to clear up this mess, it will be done. But like I said, the order must meet the body language of the president. And once he gives this, he should state he does not clear, he does not mind, he does not matter on whose ox this ground. Whether it's going to affect anybody, a Nigerian or non-Nigerian, no matter how based and placed you are in society, if you're affected, you are wiped off. And that is the truth. Once that is done, you will see a better and a cleaner Nigeria.
All right,
Thank
Doctor, I'll come back to you, but let me go to Mr. Saka. Now, General Rabo in his book, proposed a state of emergency on insecurity. And I think, I'm trying to look into his mind, if I can, of course, is the fact that, he talked about the politics, the strategic level, in fact, how this is affecting all of those things. And he's proposing a state of emergency. You know what happened under state of emergency? It means, according to the law, extraordinary measures can be taken. That's number one. That means some of these bottlenecks, political bottlenecks, strategic bottlenecks that politicians always, try to prove like an hindrance on, can be taken off. Now, if it's a state of emergency, the military will almost 100% be in charge. So those bottlenecks are not there, and there can be command that can be given, and the work can really be fought. You remember that was what happened under Goodluck Jonathan, state of emergency towards the election. Mercenaries were brought in, and a very significant progress was made. Do you think that's why he's saying this? Because he has served, he has been in power. He talked about the hindrances, but now if state of emergency is declared, some of those things will be cleared off, and actions with time limits can be given. Another person who have agreed with him on that is Brigadier General Peter Arrow, retired as well, who described the proposal as apt and born out of deep operational and strategic experience. He said a properly declared and legislatively backed state of emergency will give coherence and urgency to the fight against insurgency. That is what he said. Mr. Saka, do you agree with him?
And when that is done, we'll still be back to the issue of they cannot engage if they are not giving commands.
Would that still be a factor on that side of emergency?
Because we will still boil down to their. And I would love to disagree respectfully with Dr. Chuks, because you cite a military base, operating base or what have you at a location. And
Mr. Saka, if you can help us, please speak up a bit.
Yeah, you cite a military base at any location, and every military base there's a gate, an entrance, and there's a watch tower, and there are personnel at the gate, entrance and exit, as with assigned rifle. When you are coming aggressively onto the base of that formation or unit, the guy at the gate with his rifle, by training, by order, because of his deployment to the gate, is meant to engage. It's like I live in a compound and thieves break in, they've breached the gate, and they are coming into my apartment, and I'm saying I'm waiting for my landlord to call to give me instructions to defend my apartment. That is you peeing on our face and telling us it's raining. The rules of engagement when you're faced with threats, and there's extreme threat to your life, is to engage. You don't need to wait for a sector. As long as there's a commander on base and the base is breached, the right to defend that asset, lives and personnel on ground lies with him. He doesn't need to call the GOC to seek approval to defend his unit. So that is not an excuse. And that is not obtainable anywhere.
I asked a question about the state of emergency. That some of those considerations.
The state of emergency, and not the question of state of emergency.
They will be taken off. They won't be there.
The state of emergency will fail.
Why?
As long as what Chuks and I will agree on is there are no verifiable, bankable, workable intel, state of emergency will fail. State of emergency just gives you more freedom to operate. It makes sure that, yes, it takes into consideration your operations, but for crying out loud, I have people in Zamfara, and I'll take Zamfara as an instance. In Zamfara, young ladies now prefer to go into the forest, not as girlfriends to those bandits, but as call girls to those bandits. Get paid and come back. It's not a culture, a way of life for them. And they make the money, they spend the money lavishly. They know them.
So which means these girls have the intel. These girls actually have the intel.
Why do they know where to go and meet them, to sleep with them if they don't know where they are? The governor of Zamfara State, in his mind, believes he was indicting the federal government. Says he knows the location of these bandits. And if you know the location of the bandits and our soldiers are being killed, in line with the Terror Act, I think section 13 or section 16, that is concealment.
All right, Mr. Saka. All right, Mr. Saka.
A quick one. In Katsina State, they're having peace deals with them. That means you know their locations.
I think the question has never been, Mr. Saka, I think the question, really, if you are being serious, has never been if actually we know the location or not. What's the name of this other man? Sheikh Gumi has always been going there, coming and going.
Absolutely.
I think the question is not about if we know their hideout. What are we doing about is the issue. And that's why the proposal of this state of emergency, you said it will fail, but it worked under Jonathan. Few months. Significant progress.
I'll tell you what's worked under Jonathan. It's worked under Jonathan, and this is something I've been calling for. We cannot record success in a state of emergency because, one, there's lack of viable intel, human intelligence, which is the most fundamental for any success of any kind of war, symmetrical or asymmetrical. Two, there are collaborators within, even within our security architecture.
Jonathan said the same thing as well.
Because we use mercenaries.
Mr. Saka, Jonathan said the same thing as well. He even said in his government, he knows that he knew there were apologies.
For you to move forward,
yet it worked.
for you to move forward, you need to sieve those guys out. I don't need to know them. We don't need the razzmatazz or the show of taking them to court. If you subject the whole of the defense hierarchy to a polygraph test, some will fail. It's only few that can scale it. Those ones that failed, take them out of the system. In the interim, we need what we need is we need a specialized CTU, not the one that are drafting people for mobile police, everything that just wearing their badge in CTU. In the dedicated CTU, they have state commands. They have its own command control communication structure in place. They have its own assault attack helicopter for assault, for close air support, for what is called dust off, medical evac and water view.
All right, Mr. Saka. Mr. Saka, I'll come back to you shortly. Let me quickly go over to Dr. Maha. Dr. Maha, you just heard Mr. Saka right there. In his own opinion, he doesn't believe state of emergency will work. But let's just assuming it works, assuming the government, this administration listens to the calls from the ex-generals to declare state of emergency, what will be the political risks or implications of this state of emergency? And how will it affect military-civil relations in Nigeria?
Okay, I'll start this way. The state of emergency was called the River State. Why? They said River State was ungovernable politically. Good. Now, when a state becomes ungovernable, the issue of state of emergency creeps in and comes up. When the interest of the national is way and above the interest of the state of emergency comes up. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking of insecurity, where not localized in one state, but it's now governed almost Nigeria. It's coming already to the southwest. It's gotten down to Kwara, past Kwara. It's coming down from Osun states now. At the end of the day, at the rate we are going, I don't think we might have Christmas without insecurity all over the country. Now, what happens now? The fear is that all governors in the north are afraid, and they need to work together and agree in common and say, no, my personal interest is below that of the interest of the nation.
Sorry to cut in, Dr. Maha. Just before you proceed, the Northern Elders Forum have actually supported this call for a state of emergency. You may proceed.
Yes, Northern Elders are not the issue. We're talking of the governors. Now, the governors must all come together and agree. I've said it before on this program. They must have the meeting and agree and drop their personal selfish interest, the interest of the party, and let the interest of the nation and the security become one. Now, we have agreed when the state of emergency comes in, all the bureaucracies are all set aside. The military administrators they have free access to money and to move in. But again, Mr. President must agree there's going to be a high casualty risk. High casualty, because they're going to mop up and clear off whatever is there that creates a problem for Nigeria, suspected real or unreal. However, I do know our politicians are scared, and that's why they don't want this state of emergency creeping. Why? They believe, they're among their fears, that once the military comes back in, tasting what it is to be back again, they may not hand over back. So, Mr. President must come in, sit down, agree with the governors, agree with the military, choose those who are going to lead the operations and declare a state of emergency in the whole of northern Nigeria. First and foremost, those within will be trapped and be flushed out. That's my cause. Because at the rate we are going, we are gradually becoming into a state of anarchy, which I don't think is in the best interest of Nigeria.
All right, Dr. Maha, let me quickly go back to Mr. Saka. Mr. Saka, are you still with us?
Very much.
Now, Mr. Saka, if you believe a state of emergency will not work and you've given your reasons, my question is, are there less extreme measures that can be implemented if we do not have a state of emergency just to curb this worsening insecurity in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think there is. I had this same conversation yesterday on the platform, and what really worked, or what has worked against this government so far when it comes to intel, was the hardship unleashed on Nigerians by its monetary policies and economic policies, when it got into office. But whether we like it or not, the economy has stabilized. It's growing. And by the time the effect of such growth and everything gets to the people, I guess it will be easier for us to get the buy-in or buy-back if I can use that word, of the citizens in those, affected areas. That's one. Two, like Dr. Chuks said, we will probably need to live with the fact that we'll have collateral. We have, a lot of combative and non-combative collateral damages to win this war. But we cannot proceed if we don't, sever the enemies within. We talked about Sheikh Gumi. Sheikh Gumi had that free access and did all he did. Have you seen him do that in this administration? He was pampered by former President Muhammadu Buhari that saw Boko Haram and bandits as his misguided brothers. And that's the truth. So, and when General Yabo was being economical, he's been economical with the truth. We knew what messed up the progress on the war on terror. Just one person, former President Muhammadu Buhari, and that is it. It revoked the mercenaries contract when those guys have pinned the remnants of Boko Haram to Sambisa Forest.
So are you saying, Mr. Saka, are you saying former President Buhari was sympathetic to Boko Haram?
Sorry, he called them his misguided brothers. Which other words do you want us to paint it? He called them his misguided brothers. You see, the policing of borders in northern Nigeria is absent. Somebody said it and it wasn't counted. I said this starts from the President Muhammadu Buhari's bedroom in Daura to Niger is 25 kilometers.
All right, Mr. Saka, let me come in here now, because for anybody to make any progress in security, education, family, way, society, you must identify where you are. You must recognize that there are challenges that you can, seek for help, seek for solution, and all of those things. But now it seems there is this back and forth. And I'll give you an example. A Daily Trust report of today, 7th of October, is saying, Kwara insecurity, Babanla indigents, others cry for help. And they say natives of Babanla, one of the worst affected communities in Kwara State, have appealed to the government for urgent intervention, stating that worsening security has disrupted their livelihoods, forced displacement, and crippled economic activities. A community leader in Babanla in the Felodu local government area, Prince Yusuf Jimon, said catering for over 33 displaced persons who relocated to his home following the bandit attacks has become extremely difficult. That's one person. Now, I just, for people watching, hold that in one breath. And now, Daily Post of October 6th, that was yesterday, he said that the Kwara State government has dismissed what he described as reckless claims, insinuating that 9 local government areas are under siege by armed bandits. And quoting them, they said, this is totally false. No local government is under siege in the state. The State Commissioner for Communications, Bolanle Olukoju, declared in a statement in Ilorin on Monday, according to her, the unfortunate challenges we have had in few areas do not warrant the wicked escalation and fake news which are being promoted by opposition elements in and outside of the state. Let me add, we have reasonable grounds to suspect that these elements are the online promoters and equivalents of bandits as they help to instill fear in the populace through fake news such as the founded claim of 9 local government and yada, yada, yada. This is where we are. Mr. Saka, what do you say to that?
I challenge that commissioner, and this is me, and you have to allow me to use this word that could pacify me.
Please speak up, sir.
I challenge that commissioner that is irresponsible with her utterances and statements to move from Offa Garage through Goma and everything, and now go through the Ekiti local government in Kwara, try to approach Egbe, and see if she will come back alive. And try and access Omar, whatever, either come through back to Omar or back to Ilofa. See, when people are criminally insensitive, you can imagine the fate of the people. And in all of this, whether you like it or not, there's one person I will blame.
Who?
The NSA.
Why?
The NSA whether you like it or not, the NSC with its actions or inactions is showing either compromise or the unwillingness to work. The attack in Benue and Plateau, I think Benue or Plateau, there was security report from DSS that, and this is not me calling a crime by tribe, but it is the truth. The only herders on rampage in Nigeria are Fulani herders. And they're going to attack a place in Benue. The NSA did not act on that report. His office did not act on that report. Kogi State has been under siege for a while. And you're not asking yourself a question. That why is it that from Mokwa to Bida, from Mokwa to Bida to Mina, that has a all year round green vegetation is not being attacked by bandits. But just jump over it. The Lefaji, Pategi, that takes you to Bounty, that takes you to Sare, Sobi, and what have you. So
Mr. Saka, so sorry to cut in. All right. Well, just before we go, I understand your points there. You've just indicted the NSA on its inactions, not acting on intel. But there's a particular issue I want us to quickly address before we go. And I'd like Dr. Maha to quickly speak to that in 1 minute. Dr. Maha, if, for instance, the state of emergency proceeds and is successful and it's declared in Nigeria, there is one part we've not dealt with, and that is our porous borders. Does it really make any sense, Dr. Maha, if we have a state of emergency and we still have porous borders and we have illicit trade of arms? We still have proliferation of arms in Nigeria, illicit trade of arms. So how would a state of emergency succeed if declared when our borders are still porous and arms are still coming in from different angles into the country?
Well, first and foremost, the state of emergency will succeed if we have the support from the top. You know what I mean? Full 100% support from the top. It will succeed. It is having done the cleansing of the country that we can then begin to manage our borders. We have the joint border patrol. I do not know. It's going to take a lot of money to fence over 4,000 kilometers of borders of Nigeria. I think about 4,700 or so. It's only in the south really have physical borders. In the north, there's no border. You just walk over from one farmland to another farmland. You just notice the language changes. But we have people who live there. We need pure good information. Intel is the watchword. Before now, this didn't exist. When insurgents, mercenaries, for that matter, know Nigeria is no longer favorable for them. When they know that if they come in, they will not live alive. They know that when they come in, the operations will never succeed. They will not bother coming to Nigeria again. That is the truth. We need to set this thing up and get it right.
All right.
Not playing politics with security. The main thing I'm talking about here is issue of politics. We've been playing politics. The moment we stop playing politics, we shall get it right. That's what General Irabo has said.
All right.
Thank you very much.
We'll still further discuss this because the issue of proliferation of arms is one thing. Border patrol, just like Daniel said, is other thing. But, we'll take a quick break right now. When we return, we speak to these issues as well. Now that the ex-generals are speaking up on these matters. Stay with us. You're welcome. And, we're talking about security and the proposal of General Irabo, retired, that a state of emergency needs to be declared for us to make a significant progress in this fight against insecurity, especially banditry and terrorism. And Dr. Maha, let me ask you these two questions. Now, I asked Mr. Saka the other time, there seems to be this disconnect, or the appreciation of what is on ground, because just like a Daily Trust report of today saying indigenes and people of Abanda are crying for help. Some of the leaders are saying people have left their homes, they have run into a safer place, and he's the one of the leaders saying, is the one catering for 33 people. He can't continue doing that. Let government help us. In the same vein, a Daily Post news is quoting Kwara State government to say people that are saying bandits have overtaken 9 local governments, they are ruling the place, they are liars, they are political opponents. So where's that denial from the government to say that's a lie? These, and then, you know, the name of Peter Obi came up, and he said, we regretfully observe that Mr. Peter Obi has lent his social media handles to spreading such fake news, and then everything goes political. And isn't this what General Boy was saying, that politics is always the problem? A newspaper report is saying people are crying for help in Babanla. The Kwara State government is saying, keep quiet. It's the politicians that are aggravating these issues. So how do we manage these nexus? Make it make sense. Dr. Maha.
This is all coming up. Deyemi had spoken about that when he spoke at Kwara State in particular, that the Commissioner of Information was talking without sensitivity to the people. I've said before, I will keep on saying again, the security of politics versus the politics of security. I do not know when politicians will learn when to draw the line between their selfishness and begin to think of selflessness. And I think the only way that will happen is when we make politics very, very unattractive. And I think that's a stepping stone. That's when we're talking solutions. For now, I want to believe at least the fourth realm of government, as the journalist, all that, anything you dish out, we believe is true because it's not censored. I saw on air 7 local government chairmen in Kwara State come together in unison with the military there in Kwara State, asking for assistance within the 7 local governments where they have decided to close the markets down by 6 in the evening. And all where the cattle rear goes on, banned. So if that was televised, if that was seen and done by 7 local government chairmen, how can the commissioner come up and see there's nothing like that? So I think the earlier we get our act together, the better. However, I want to plead here using this forum that Nigerians should become patriotic. Learn patriotism and learn to be patriotic. Where you have information, intel, pass it on to the right quarters. Right quarters will mean either directly to the Commissioner of Police office, not through an oddly direct demand to see him or her and pass that information. Go to the office of the DSS at the state command where possible and submit to the director there where possible, or any military base demanding to see the
Dr. Maha,
there.
Dr. Maha, sorry to cut in. Dr. Maha, you also raised concerns here concerning the safety of those, you know, passing that intel, those intels. So what happens to them? You raised that concern. How safe are those who have this intel?
Yeah, I want to believe, just like what Deyemi said, which is of the same opinion, we also have some people who have compromised in the structure of the security architecture. But I want to believe somewhere in between, we still have very good officers who are ready to do what they need to do for the integrity and sovereignty of the nation, Nigeria. These are not politicians, people who do not think of job security, who are there based on merit. We'll get down, we'll get there. Let the city pass information. And again, when passing such information, I will say, please do not write your house address. Use a general address and do not put your phone number. You know how to sieve the information to confirm if it's true or not, because every information must be verified before acted upon.
Yeah, my second question goes to Mr. Deyemi Saka. This illustration that I gave through those newspaper reports in Kwara State, attributed to Kwara State, something similar is happening, has played out rather in Borno State, where this call for state of emergency, the question was asked, you know, the Commissioner for Information and Internal Security in Borno State, that's Professor Usman Tar, who said Irabo is entitled to his opinion on the declaration of a state of emergency on security. He's entitled to his opinion. If you want further clarification, ask him. We have nothing to say about that. It's sometimes it looks like the people in power, just like you have said about General Irabo himself, what they see, what they feel when they're in power is something different. Immediately they leave power, then they begin to say something else. Remember the accidental public servant book written by Nancy El-Rufai, something closed. There was a media handler of the president who wrote a book, I think Olusegun Adeniyi, who spoke about something different as well. What is in being in power and saying something or see something, the moment they leave, including General Irabo himself, it will not look like they are siding with the people and they are saying it as it is. Is it that when you are in government, you are expected to be patriotic and diplomatic at the same time, and the moment you leave, you begin to say something else, as we have seen in these different cases?
What happened is it's serious. They're still playing mind games. It's about self-preservation. because they want to be assimilated and accepted in the larger society, that they treated with disdain and treated like, you know, something or some class beneath them. And that is how they're saying. That's what they do. When they're in office, they don't reckon with you, they don't know you. They are insulated by that, you know, VIP syndrome, if I can use that. But once they're out there, they are back in the society, they will start saying, no, it wasn't like my hands are tied, I couldn't do something. Just an excuse to be assimilated. In my fact, you won't be surprised if the next 2 years you start seeing the posters of Iraboida for them to be the governor of his state, or to be aspiring for maybe running mate or NSA. So that those things are just personal marketing, and that is it. To talk about realities, and you see, when it comes to insecurity, you see that Borno state, I don't spare them recognition.
Why?
Including the governor.
Why?
Because the governor is one of the most hypocritical beings in Nigeria.
How do you mean?
When President Muhammadu, I will tell you, and I'll back you up with facts.
Okay.
When President Muhammadu Buhari was there, he was silent. Rather than blame the president for insecurity like his predecessor did, they are blaming the army. In fact, he was compromising the operations of the military with his utterances, with his conduct. In fact, at a point, he accused the military of fueling the insecurity because of fish markets in Baga. So I don't spare him the
This was the same Professor Bagana Zulum that was almost killed. He was attacked like 3 times on his way.
That was not
on his way to some of those villages for intervention.
Femi,
yes.
The last attack that was captured, they didn't want to kill him. I'm serious, because I saw the thing. All they just had to do was just a gun mounted, a truck mounted with 50 caliber. Call the convoy.
His convoy was shot severally.
My brother, I watched that video. That video was not engaged to be killed. He was just engaged to be rattled. If they wanted to kill him, he would have been killed, because he kept compromising. He kept working against military instructions for whatsoever reason I don't know. So when it comes to insecurity in Borno, or trust about insecurity from that state, I don't think it dignifies with any kind
people of Borno still deserve to be alive. They are Nigerians.
You see, people of Borno deserve to be alive.
Yes.
But whether we like it or not, these people keep laying their bed returns. So they have to play the need. Now look at it. Zamfara State, and for instance, I just gave you an instance. Look at Katsina State. The Kankara boys adoption. There was a former chairman of local government that was involved. He's on trial. At the point, they just keep. It's just because the federal government has the mandate, or the mandatory and the obligatory, duty to deploy soldiers they must do what they need to do. Oftentimes, we are leading these people to their death. There was a video I saw in circulation some months ago where military assets were being hijacked by Bello Tuji. How was that possible? Because there's no way, even Benin Republic, as little or Togo in landmass, we don't want to move military trucks from one position to another, especially when there's crisis or kind of this insecurity, without close air support. But you will send the equipment of almost $100 million, and there's nothing securing it.
So you say you think it's intentional?
Well, it might be intentional. It might be a display of knowledge gap on what they should do,
or just negligence. All right.
Yes, I said knowledge gap.
Oh, all right.
Trying to make it sound, trying to package it for them.
All right. All right, Mr. Saka. Because of time, we really have to go. But before we go, I'd like to throw this final question to Dr. Maha. Dr. Maha, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm very much with you.
All right, Dr. Maha. This move, this call for state of emergency, peradventure it succeeds, and this administration decides to listen to these ex-generals to declare a state of emergency in Nigeria as far as security is concerned. My question is this: will it strengthen or weaken democratic institutions and civil liberty in Nigeria?
I believe it to be a teaching point, a lesson that our politicians will learn and begin to evolve a different ideology towards governance. I think, yes, it will strengthen, because it's a 50-50 thing. It depends on which way you look at the coin, either to the left or to the right. But I believe it will strengthen, and it will now improve the trust relationship between those being governed and, of course, those
Dr. Maha, sorry to cut in. How exactly will it strengthen democratic institutions when we have the military being in charge now? Because that'll be in the implication. They will have more room to make decisions without solely relying, or waiting for the politicians to intervene.
Yes, because this time around, when they come back into office, which they do, they will sit up and ensure their states are very well governed. For now, just like what Deyemi was saying, very true, where a governor is least concerned what's happening to his citizens, which is the case with most governors within the country for now. They're less concerned. They're not bothered. He also mentioned where the people are hungry. This is what happens. You look for where you're going to look for your daily solace. He mentioned about our young ladies now prostituting, going as call girls to Zamfara, which is very, very true. Oh, there are so many things going on. Good business is going on. How do they feed? Who gives them food? How do they get the oil? How do they get the gas, the petrol, the diesel? People are doing business with them where they cannot get business within the states. So I believe if when this happens, which I pray happens early enough to cleanse the land of insecurity, our various governors, our governors, and the democratic structure of Nigeria will have a rethink and go on the right path.
All right. We most sincerely thank you, gentlemen. Deyemi Saka, security consultant and analyst. Thank you, sir, for your time.
You're welcome. I'm always a phone call away. Trust me.
All right. Thank you very much. And of course, Chuks Maha, PhD, security analyst and consultant as well. Thank you, as always. Always, rather.
Thanks. You're most welcome.
All right.
Absolutely. Quite an interesting topic. I will keep talking about it because security is very important. Lives of every life matters in Nigeria. Join us again tomorrow for a fresh edition of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Daniel Emeka is my name. Do have a fantastic day. Good morning.
And of course, I'm Femi Ojo. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless Nigeria. Please keep safe.